You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop-up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, I drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you, see you, see you, see you.
Celebrity designer Jeff Lewis is back with Hollywood House Lift.
I'm excited to be working with new clients.
I'm not getting rid of that.
I hope I never see you both again.
An all-new season.
Those have to go. That has to go.
From oh, wow,
It's been an actual nightmare.
to oh, wow.
This is such an upgrade.
With celebrities like Josh Duhamel, Christina Ricci, and Gina Rodriguez.
Dazzle me, Jeff.
It looks like Chuck E. Cheese.
Stream an all-new season of Hollywood House Lift with Jeff Lewis, now streaming on Freevee.
I am Conor McGregor, multiple weight MMA champion. I'm a fighter and I've been through many battles in the octagon. Many consider my fights in the octagon heroic, but the real life heroes are those men and women who fight to protect us every day. The real life fighters, the real life heroes, are the firefighters and police officers. These first responders are true heroes, because these brave men and women put themselves in the line of danger every single day protecting us all. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation ensures that first responders from fire, EMS and police departments who are killed in the line of duty with young children have a home without the burden of a mortgage. They are my heroes. They need our help today. I'd like to ask you to join me in donating $11 a month to support their efforts. Your $11 a month honours and supports our first responders. Please call now at 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of He Said, She Said. I am your hostess, Aggie, and with me is our awesome producer, Rick. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Still flying missing man for Mickey, and missing him more and more. But glad I'm here.
Well, speaking of Mickey, today is a grand day at his household. He is tying the knot with his beloved La Reina. And so we are all wishing him many, many happy years of bliss and hope that today goes really, really well. I'm sure that he is having a lot of fun.
I was unaware, so that's awesome.
Yes,
I hope
yes.
they have.
Today's the day. As a matter of fact, the wedding started 7 minutes ago.
I hope
Actually, an hour ago.
I hope they have a long, happy life together. And now I understand why he was stressing out on X the other day when he was like, "We're this close to the wedding," and she hates her dress.
Yes. And it was funny because, I read that he's like, oh my God, she just tried on her dress and she hates it. And my first thought was, she's just going to buy a new one. And sure enough, that's exactly what she did. How do I know this? Because we're Hispanic. Okay. Hispanic women do this. They're like, oh, I am not going to go through being a pincushion while they alter a dress. I'm going to go find one that I like that fits better. That's what I did. That's what my sister did. That's what my best friend did. So.
Hispanic women are scary. I know this because my first fiance was Puerto Rican. I'm just saying.
We are special.
That is not the word I would use, ma'am, but we'll let you go with it.
That is the word we're using tonight. So anyway,
I don't want to be stabbed, so that can be the word we're using for the night. I'm okay with it.
If you scroll down in the chat, past the West Coast and East Coast time clocks, Jeff updated down below for congratulations for Mickey and Lorena in the on the sidebar. So it's there.
Probably would help if I refreshed because I haven't refreshed the chat yet. Oh yeah, it goes where you guys' stuff usually is. That's awesome.
Yeah, normally where our books go, that's where he put it. So
okay, that's awesome.
All in all, wishing them the best, and I cannot wait to finally send them my gift because I've been here with my my dad, not my parents, but hopefully I'll be able to mail that off not this coming Monday, but the Monday following. I should be home and I should be able to mail stuff out finally. Keep in mind, this has been in the works for 4 months.
Yeah, I mean, you do usually put a lot of planning in this stuff. So.
I do. I'm horrible that way, but anyway. So moving on. How are you doing aside all of the mess that you've been working with?
Getting things figured out. Yesterday was a little rough. I tried to integrate a new piece of equipment and it screwed up all my settings, and then I was mad, and now I've figured it out, I think. Maybe. Jeff sent me his screenshots on how he set it all up, so I'm hoping that, because what I'm trying to do, even though we have music licensing and will have music licensing when we transition to the other platform sometime next month, I'm trying to get it set up to where I have multiple channels so that I can stream pod-safe music to places like YouTube and Rumble and just run the other stuff everywhere else. Because then, since this system will be picking up the stuff that's pod-safe, I can just copy that file and send it to Spreaker instead of having to.
I believe you. Instead
of doing all the other work that I've tried to put on myself to make all this work. But that new piece of equipment is even if for being a free piece of software that goes with the very expensive equipment I just got, it's more complicated to set up than the very expensive equipment that I just got. So it was kind of killing me. But because, I didn't realize it yesterday, but when I installed it, it automatically went in and changed a bunch of settings. So I'm sitting here trying to figure out why suddenly all my levels are peaked all over the place, why nothing's going to the stream, why it sounds like trash through Spreaker. And eventually, after 30 minutes, I just threw my hands up in the air, clicked the off button, and just went and just screamed into the void for like 15 minutes. Because like, I finally had everything sounding great, and I screwed it up, and I don't know what I did. And then it dawned on me like 2 hours later what I actually did, which worked out because I still wound up doing almost an extra hour of radio last night because of the verdict. But we won't talk about that tonight because otherwise I might have a stroke.
Yeah, it's best not to. Anyway. Just concentrate on other stuff that tends to make our blood pressure boil.
Yeah, so for
Because there isn't enough.
yeah, there's not enough things that can send me over the edge or anything. But yeah, I think for me, well, so I know the topic tonight. What did I lose you for a second? I think I lost you for a second. And let's see where you went. Don't leave me again.
I'm still here. What?
I don't know.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, but it clicked you out for a second.
Okay.
You're back now.
That was weird.
It happened with Jen last night. She wound up putting the tool in its own little separate browser because sometimes when she was trying to look stuff up, it would automatically throw her out. I don't know why it does that with you guys because it doesn't do that on my end, but that may be what was happening. I don't know.
I wasn't anywhere.
I don't know. I just know you were gone, and then I just know you were gone and you were back. That's all I know.
Okay.
But
all
anyway,
right, fine, whatever. So, but yeah, yesterday was a weird day. Admittedly, there were a lot of teeth gnashing and all that stuff. And I'm like looking at the bigger picture. I'm like, hold up. There has been a lot of people have been galvanized and incentivized. And there were some people who surprised me by saying certain things that I did not expect them to say.
Yeah, the one that's
specifically.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
Well, no, just specifically people that were saying I was never going to. I've voted Democrat all my life. This cannot stand. And it's not about Trump. It's about what was done to him. And this is what I always tell people. It's not about him. This is not about Trump. This has nothing to do with Trump. This is about how the law was circumvented, twisted, and rights were taken away from an individual in order to get this conviction. And I was explaining this to somebody, and I asked them straight out, I was like, what were the charges? What did he get charged with? And they couldn't tell me. It's like, that's right. He doesn't even know. He does not know the crime he committed. And how's that possible? And I'm like, they didn't tell him. As a matter of fact, they told no one. We still don't know what crime he committed. But he committed a crime. I said, but which one was it? And they could not tell me. And this is, and you're seeing a lot of people starting, looking around going, what the hell is going on? I mean, only the most devout anti-Trump people will be happy about this. And their numbers are not as strong as I first thought they were. But anyway, you're right. We're not talking about that. We talked about it a little bit. You talked about it a lot yesterday. So. But let's move on to something that really aggravates us, that we can talk about and we can control.
Well, so before we get into that, the one that I will say surprised me completely was David Limbaugh, because when he was like, I was like, now a lot, it's David Limbaugh, so that should tell you something. So I always thought it was weird that he was like the opposite side of the spectrum in a lot of ways, but at the same time, he's like, this doesn't work. This should have never happened. I'm like, when you've lost David Limbaugh.
Yeah, and he wasn't the only one. We had several people who were longtime, big corporate business people who have donated to left causes, who have donated to who voted for Democrats their entire lives, coming out of the woodwork saying, this is bad. This needs to stop. and they don't even agree with Trump, but they understand that Trump is now the better option because this can happen to them too. They didn't go after Trump in New York because he was a president or a politician. They went after him because of his business practices. And this is what I was telling everybody. And they were like, no, it's because of what he did when he was president. I said, no, it's not because of what he did when he was president. You need to understand that that's not even in play here. And a lot of people are asking, why is it that he has gathered so much hatred from one side? And I said, the only thing that I can figure out is that here's this guy who was a Democrat for a very long time. He was loved by celebrities everywhere. He was respected by a lot of politicians because he always donated to left-wing causes. And it's true, he did. But here he comes and he decides, hey, running as a Democrat never worked for me. But running as a Republican just might, because maybe people will start listening to what needs to get done. He ascended to the highest office in the land without, quote unquote, paying his dues. He didn't have any other office before that. And a lot of people say, well, Obama didn't either. I say, well, Obama was senator. And before that, he was, he did work in politics. So he was basically chosen, let's face it.
Yeah.
So, but Obama did have the benefit of having held public office before he became president. So he has that. And, here comes this guy who is the quintessential New York boor. Okay. And he has absolutely no diplomatic finesse whatsoever. And to me, that was a big plus, because it has been my experience, and I'm sure everybody here will agree, that every single time you have a diplomat ascending to the White House, he's going to be too busy reaching across the aisle to get any shit done. And that has been proven time and time again. So I was kind of glad that he was not somebody that was particularly diplomatic. He was also somebody that, could give a shit about what you had on him. I'm sure that the FBI went in there and said, this is the file that we have on you. And he said, yeah, what about it? You can tell everybody about it. And my life's an open book. I don't care.
Yeah, he's like,
I was a celebrity. I don't care.
He's like, I really don't care, my dude. Just saying.
It's pretty much street cred where he comes from. Okay. So you had this completely unconventional person who became president without the benefit of having held any prior office whatsoever. And he could not be controlled. And that's why they hate him. They completely despise him, because even right now they can't control him. And notice how hard they tried by those gag orders, by making him sit in a courtroom while the jury was deliberating. Nobody does that.
Yeah. Well,
you don't even do that with the most dangerous criminals. You let them sit in their cell or wherever it is that they're staying.
Well, the other thing that floors me, right, is the gag order is still in effect and the trial's in effect over.
Yep.
I'm like,
why is that? Nobody can answer that question.
Wait, what? But yeah. So I mean, I guess for me, because I will admit I went on a bit of a tirade yesterday after I got done covering the story. I'm honestly surprised I didn't wind up in Camp X-Ray, because I thought I was going to. Because I just I've kind of reached the stage at this point where I have, pardon my language, but we do play a disclaimer for a reason. No fucks left to give. Because I just don't. But I guess for me, the thing that kind of surprised me, and then we'll actually change over to the actual topic, was finding out that, because I mean, the left has been talking about this nonstop from the second that the judge had the media announced there was a verdict. Get ready for the riots. Trump's people are gonna lose it. It's gonna be terrible. Where are the pitchforks?
I'm still waiting.
Where are the pitchforks and the torches? You know why there weren't pitchforks and torches? Because they took the money that they would have spent on the pitchforks and the torches, and they donated it to his campaign. Do you realize that in just over 24 hours they've raised almost $60 million?
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Yeah. It's awesome though.
If the left thought this was how they were going to be able to bring him down, they have strongly miscalculated, because I said this today on the afternoon show, and I even put it out on X later. I have never considered myself actually completely MAGA, like the dyed-in-the-wool MAGA. I agree with a lot of their concepts. I think the idea of making America great again is an obviously awesome concept, because we haven't been great in a very long time. So it's not that I didn't agree with them. And it's not that at one point I didn't even vote for Trump, because, I was on, One America News Network, talking about how in 2016 I didn't vote for him. In 2020 I would, because that tweet absolutely blew up. And the next thing I was like, hey, we'd like to interview him. I'm like, cool. Maybe it'll help with my stuff. It didn't, but I tried.
But you tried.
But anyway, so here I am now, and I'm like, you know what? Joe Biden has made me MAGA.
I admit I've never been MAGA. I was one of the nose holders. What choice did I have type of thing in 2016. In 2020, I was like, this is the only option again, and honestly, I was kind of leaning more towards Trump simply because he did get some stuff done. And to his credit, because of his brash style and the fact that he was absolutely not diplomatic in any way, a lot of the countries that do not view us as an ally stayed away. They didn't know how to handle him. They didn't know what to do. So they just chilled out for the 4 years. Basically, they were like, we don't know what to do.
we're just gonna stay away from this crazy fucker. We're just gonna stay over here. Y'all have fun for 4 years. Which, yeah.
But the extent, and then what happened with the whole election and all that stuff, if that wasn't bad enough, what happened in August of 2021 with the desertion of Afghanistan, I could not talk about it back then, but I did have friends that served in that particular zone. I've lost friends that served in that particular zone. And that particular area, believe it or not, was actually, even though it was kicking and screaming, it was coming into at least back to the 20th century before the fall of the Shah in 1979 in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
There were, women wore dresses. They did not even cover their hair. Girls were going to school. These were things that were happening. It was actually starting to progress the way progression should happen in civilization. And he took all that away. And it wasn't just that. He left stuff behind to empower the Taliban. And now I have a friend who had made several friends. She made several friends with the women there. She has lost complete contact. And she doesn't know if they're even alive. And I'm like, this is what he did. There were people falling off of the C-130s as they were flying. There were people that were left behind. We still don't have a full accountability of how many of our allies were left behind. People who worked with the U.S. and with the allies at risk of their own lives against the Taliban. They were left behind. And I just, it's beyond egregious. It was evil. What happened was evil. He left people to die. He forsaked everything and he empowered an evil regime again, simply because he wanted to say that he had ended the Afghanistan war. And notice, he never said we were victorious. Victory has never been part of the democratic playbook. It has always been ending, not winning. So, because of that, there have been a lot of people who were quiet before, but with what happened with Trump now are coming out of the shadows saying, yeah, we can't do this anymore. We just cannot support this because this will come back to bite everyone. Now everybody is a target. They can use this on anybody. This is why Kathy Hochul had to come out and say, oh, no, this is just a one-off. This is just one time. This is just for Trump. Nobody needs to be, we're not targeting businesses. We're just, this is all about Trump, about what he did. And I'm like, but they did the same thing that Trump did. So now you're either admitting that you're targeting a person for his political views, or you're lying to the rest of the people that live in New York that did the same thing that Trump did. Which is it?
I got nothing. I really got to get quicker with the videos now that we have video capability. I almost had Leslie Nielsen saying nothing to see here, almost ready to go, and I ran out of time. I'm sad. I'm sad.
That's okay. You don't ever have to cue the Munchkins, though. We know that for a fact. You just let me know, and I'll go. But anyway,
I don't think she's in chat. All right, have you do it again?
No, she's not. Thank God, that's why I said it.
Nice. Yeah, she was.
Anyway,
she was still trying to convince me to have you help me roast her because her birthday will be on a Friday. I was like, no, she's already said she won't do that. We'll just do it.
No, I am not doing it. I haven't even done that to my family at their roast. I couldn't do it.
I was like, if you really want to get roasted that bad, we'll just take it to Spaces after the show's over and let everybody have at it.
Yeah, I think that would be a better idea because people can then talk and instead of writing it, they can just deliver it off the cuff. But anyway. I was kind of thinking we might actually start using Spaces for like an after the show space or something, just to let everybody kind of chill. It's just ways to try to get things integrated because it's not going to work the way I hoped it was going to, at least not yet. Mm-hmm. I've been trying to figure out how to get Spaces integrated into the soundboard, and I thought once I was able to get it, I was able to get it launched through the computer that I might be able to, but I think I figured out why that doesn't work with this setup. So I still think if I Bluetooth my phone to it and launch from there, I think it will work. But I'm going to be testing that tomorrow since we don't really have anything during the day, because I think I may have finally licked it, because I figured out the other day that to use music that is not loaded into Spreaker and still put it out through the streaming stuff, it either has to come from an app or it has to be it has to be sharing the browser screen for it to pick it up. So I think that's why the Spaces stuff wasn't working the other day. So I think I may have figured it out. Just kind of, so it's because my plan is, if we can make that work, I want to get to the point where Spaces kind of becomes like an overflow room and also a place where people, if they want to talk to us, it's an easy way for them to say, hey, I want to talk to you guys about this. And then we give them permission to speak. And then it's an after show. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying even like during the show.
Ah, okay.
Like be able to take callers without having to give out a phone number, basically.
Well, I was told that there would be no math. This is way over my head.
I know. You hate it. You hate it when I start talking tech.
I'm like,
but
what? I'm looking around going, what?
You're like, can we move to the topic now? Because I don't like talking about this stuff.
Yes, tonight's topic. Yeah, it's a fun one. Ron, God love him. He had a word that he absolutely loathed the way that people were using it nowadays. And we have certain words that are used in the wrong context or the wrong way, or people just don't understand the meaning. And Ron, his number one was one of my top ones as well. And I'm sure yours too, because it gets in everybody's nerves. And that word was?
Literally.
It drives me crazy when I see people using the word literally, figuratively. I mean, seriously, instead of saying figuratively, they use the word literally in order to emphasize something. But for example, there was a reel somebody posted and about this one, the jiggly girl, the one with all the tits. And she was saying, literally, I died when I saw that. And I'm like, but you're alive. So it cannot be literally you died because you're still breathing. Obviously, from the way your tits are jiggling around, you're still breathing. I'm sure people are wondering who I'm talking about. It was over on Twitter. This gal wears very, very tight, what they call bodycon shirts, and I mean, and you can't even see bra straps, so I don't even know if she wears a bra underneath that. But she puts the camera well enough away from her that she can be seen from the waist up instead of just the face. And so as she's moving, she moves in such a way as to make her rack jiggle. So
Watch it
A
wiggle.
lot of the girls
see
are
it
like,
jiggle,
yeah,
jello.
is anybody even listening? But
I don't
yeah,
know.
it's pretty much like Jello.
I was gonna say suddenly I have the old Jello commercials in my head.
Yeah, well, yeah, she's pretty famous. A lot of people post her videos. Nobody listens, but they post the videos. They just post it, muted, and nobody listens. But yeah, she said that, and I'm like, ugh, I hate it. I hate it when people say that. I really do. If you're gonna be literal about something, it better be happening.
Yeah,
If you're gonna say literally I died, you better be dying. Better be dead. This better be a recording.
Yeah, if you're saying literally I'm dying, that's one thing, and then it better happen soon. But if you're saying literally I died and you're still talking, I'm not Ghost and I do not see dead. I'm not the kid from Sixth Sense and I do not see dead people. And I'm not Demi Moore from Ghost.
But I mean, it is, and it's constant. Everybody uses,
Or wait, I guess it was Whoopi Goldberg that actually kind of interacted with him on Ghost, not Demi. Anyway, sorry.
Well, at the end, she did.
Yeah, it's true.
She was able to hear him. So,
But
so you're right on both counts.
Sort of. Anyway.
But yes, that is one word that gets a lot of mileage being used in the wrong context. And I just wish that people would actually stop to see, to it, but they don't, because it's the in word. There's a lot of words that are in right now.
Yeah.
This one doesn't happen to be a fad. This one happens to be a trend because it's still being used, and a lot of people still use it, and it's a constant. And it doesn't matter how old, it doesn't matter the sex, it doesn't matter. Just people use it all the time, but wrongly, and it drives them crazy.
Yeah, poor Ron. It used to drive him absolutely nuts because he was like, "Can you just stop doing that?" I'm like, "Doing what?" I mean, for me, half the time I was being facetious just because I knew it bothered him, but it was like, oh, that's a Wednesday. I was looking to see because he passed. It looks like he passed on June 26th. I actually found. So we have the shows that he's done with us here, the few times that we were able to coax him on. But I also found the archives of when I was hanging out on KOKC all the time, and he used to call in. So I was going to actually find the call-in segments and edit them and probably...
And air them on the anniversary of his passing? That would be so nice.
That was kind of the plan. I think I may actually do that in lieu of my afternoon show. Just put a couple of his things together and along with that and just run that instead. But we will see. But... yeah, when I was going through my hard drive the other day because somebody was asking me, and thank you, by the way, because what you found was really close. But Lou was asking me about, because she was making fun of me because when it said, post you as a GIF, and I posted a penguin, and she's like, first of all, you're exaggerating, and second of all, no. I was like, do you not remember that I started life on Twitter as a penguin wearing a Gadsden flag T-shirt?
I didn't find that. I did that. I found
you did that. Okay.
Yeah, the penguin, and then I did clip art of the Gadsden snake and saying, "Don't tread on me," and I put it on the penguin.
That's awesome. I didn't know you made it, but yeah,
I did. I mean, I was like, I did it all on the phone. I seriously, it's a miracle that I can get my email because I'm not technologically savvy, so it took me a while to figure that out. But I managed it. I was reading the instructions as I was doing this on the computer. So I could do it on my phone.
But yeah, I found one of the older folders that I thought I'd hidden from myself. I found it, so I was digging through that. I was like, maybe that's on there. And then I found all the KOKC archives, and I'm like, oh man, Ron's on these because he called almost every time I was on. So he was.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, He liked it better when I filled in the afternoons. I will say that, but he still called in every morning. Yeah, I remember the station manager, like the guy over the programming director, was like, "Dude, you have people calling in from like Virginia and Georgia and everywhere." I'm like, "Did they not tell you I do a nationwide podcast already?" Hello.
Wow.
Anyway, but yeah, I You'd think I would remember the day, because normally I don't forget things like that, but I keep having to go back to the website. It's like, what is that? But yeah, I should remember it. It's like 3 days after my mom's birthday. Maybe it's just too painful. I don't know.
Well, that would be kind of cool if he can get that done. If not, I would love to hear him in his the show that he did. Again, that'd be kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
Or you can do both.
Yeah, well, that's the plan, is to kind of do both. And because if I do it, there's enough on there to probably fill about 3 hours. So I'm figuring, because he was on about 3 separate shows that were about an hour apiece. So I'm figuring put those in the queue and then put the little call-in segments between them. And that would probably fill almost 4 hours by the time it was done.
That sounds cool.
Run that starting mid-afternoon and just put it on a loop till we shut down for the evening stuff. But anyway, all right. So yeah, literally is one of my top ones, but only because it used to annoy Ron so much. That was actually the first time he called in over there. He was like, "Well, I'm glad to hear you haven't used the word literally yet." And I'm like, so you literally called in to tell me that you're glad I haven't used the word literally yet? And he's like, I'm getting off the phone.
Oh, goodness. That's funny. Oh, man. He was a trip, man. He really was cool.
He was awesome. I mean, there was a time, especially when we transitioned from K98 over to KLRN Radio when I had to rebuild, there was a time he was the only person in my chat room. And it was more than one when I was doing the shows later at night. And more than once, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do a show tonight. He's like, you're just saying that because I'm the only one in the chat room, aren't you? Well, not really, but now that you've mentioned it, he's like, get your ass in there and do a show. I was like, fine. He talked me out of giving up more than once. I'm just being honest.
That's good. I'm glad he did. All right. So this is we're all verklempt. What do you have another word?
So another one.
I know you do.
Yeah, no. I mean, I have an entire list. You know me by now. But anyway, so one of the ones that drives me the most crazy in the English language is people not understanding when to use the word me and the word I in a sentence. God, that drives me nuts.
I still remember the trick that I learned in 7th grade, I think it was.
What was
to finish the sentence?
Yeah.
How it would sound I or me. So finish it in your head with the verb, and that's what you use. So. And it's like they're really misusing I now instead of me. Have you noticed that?
Well, yeah. Now it's gone the other way. Now they don't.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait. Now they're trying so hard to be correct that they're being wrong. That drives me crazy.
Well, I mean, I have to admit, I think that may have been what started the other trend. They were trying so hard to be right with it that they wound up being completely wrong, and now they're trying to swing it back the other way. But yeah, so I mean, just as an example, and this kind of goes into the same trick that you were talking about. He lent the book to Jim and me. So if you remove Jim from the equation, he lent the book to me, and then the sentence makes sense. If you say he lent the book to I, then you sound retarded. Don't do that.
Correct. And that's how. Normally I would remember it. And I remembered it like that for years. I still do, and I finish it. Like I said, I finish it in my head before I say it so that I know that I'm saying it correctly. But yeah, there's a lot of people that have swung in the opposite direction and are using I incorrectly.
Yeah.
Where it used to be me.
Well, actually, that's more common among New Yorkers. One of the biggest people that used to get under my skin all the time because he did it on every freaking promo tweet was JD back in the day. He's like, join Scott's Fire and I'm like, that's not how that goes.
It's join me, not join I. Yeah.
It's like, that's not how that goes. And I actually, after like the fifth time, I finally said, okay, look, dude, I love you, but it's join Scott's Fire and me. He's like, I'm from fucking New York. Deal with it. Like, okay. As long as you're okay with it, I guess I'm okay with it. But whatever.
Yeah, that one's still getting a lot of traction, and it's not going away. I hate to say it, it's not going away.
Yeah, probably never anytime soon, unfortunately.
No. I have one of my pet peeves is the use of the term New Age.
Ugh.
It drives me absolutely batshit. It's almost as if they don't. A lot of people that use it now, they think it's like, remember the term state of the art? Okay, that. They think that that's what replaced state of the art. And I'm like, no, New Age is a spirituality term. It's a mystical term. It has absolutely nothing to do with technology. It has absolutely nothing to do with industrial progress. Nothing to do with any of that. But, you hear the term New Age technology, and I'm like, if you mean that this is a seance, okay, that this will facilitate a seance, I'll buy it. But no, that's not what this is. New Age is not a technical term by any means. It's a spirituality. It's a mystical term. It's supposed to be about your chakras, your inner, light, your, that kind of shit. None of this
go towards the light,
technological
Carol
crap.
Go towards the light, Carol Ann. Go towards the light.
Yes, it's pretty much it. And I saw it it was a promo tweet, the ads and whatever, and it was talking about the New Age technology, and that's part of the reason I really wanted to do the misuse of words thing, because that's one of the ones that's really getting on my nerves lately. They use that term and they have absolutely no idea where that term came from. And most of the time, a term is co-opted and giving a new meaning. It's not in this case. In this case, it's like they don't know what the meaning is, so they're going to use it because it sounds cool. They're not even trying to change the meaning. They just don't know what the meaning is. It just sounds pretty.
This word sounds awesome. Let's use it. We don't even know what it means, but let's use it.
Yeah, we used to do that in English. Our teacher every month would tell us we had to pick a new favorite word. And the thing was, at the end of the year, we would have 6 words, and she would use those 6 words the following year for the new students. So we would get a list at the beginning of words that we needed to learn just for us to learn a new word type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the syllabus. It had nothing to do with her, her teaching, whatever she was going to be teaching that year. It was just something that she wanted us to learn. She wanted to expand everybody's vocabulary. This was a really cool way of doing it because we're picking the words that the next year people are going to be using, right?
Yeah.
And I remember,
see, that would make me be ornery. I'm not even gonna lie.
By the third word, she told me not to do it anymore. And I was like, why? And she said, you're in 7th grade and you're using words from college. And I was like, I can't help it if I read. I got mad because I was forbidden from actually participating for the rest of the year. She tells me this in December. And I was like, that's not fair. And she was like, tell you what, just think of what next year's 7th graders should be learning, words they should be learning. And I would look at her and I said, these are words they should be learning. And she was like,
see,
okay, fine.
I had that same problem, but I was reading at college level by 6th grade. So my teachers already didn't know what to do with me.
Yeah, my parents were teachers, so I would read their books when I was little because I was like, oh, it's a book, so I would go read. But I was like, you can't stop me from actually giving a word. And she's like, well, yes, I can. so I only contributed 3 words. But she thought that it was, but she told me, I want you to keep learning new words. And what I want you to do is at the end of the year, I want you to give me a list of the new words that you learned. And I did. And, they were, again, college level. And she was like, this is what I want. I want you to keep doing that. I want you to keep doing that. And I did. I kept doing that up until I graduated from college. I was still doing it, learning new words and everything. And it was a challenge. It was kind of cool and everything. But with that came the pitfalls of people using words, not knowing their meanings, because I corrected one of my TAs and that wasn't pretty.
Oh boy. I bet that went over like a lead balloon.
No, that wasn't pretty. But, again, if you know the meaning of the word, but are using it in a different context because you want to change the meaning, that's one thing. People do that all the time. People invent new words all the time. I get that. But when you take a term and you don't know what it means and you decide to use it to mean something else, then yeah, that's not going to work for me. It's not going to work for me. And that new age thing always drives me crazy.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's such a symptom of a larger problem. But back to what you were saying, I think I probably would have gotten in trouble with your teacher because I would have turned I would have turned in one more word to find the most fancy, like most college level word I could find for censorship.
Yeah. So yeah.
This is how I feel about your decision, but I respect it now that I've said my piece.
Oh man.
But
yeah, good times. Anyway, so do you have another? I'm sure you have more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a dozen or more. But since we are actually almost an hour in, I guess I should probably use my other big one. The one that's been driving me really, really crazy lately is the word treason. It is being overused as much as the word literally, if not more so. Because I mean,
it's not only overused, but it's being used in a wrong way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now they think everything is treason, especially if you're a Republican.
Yes.
You didn't vote for
now it's a political term as opposed to a war term.
Yeah. You didn't vote for Biden. That's treason. No, it's not. Look up the definition. Just saying. But yeah, that one drives me absolutely insane. And I don't know why my dogs are suddenly deciding to bark, so don't mind them.
Yeah, treason is one that has been, like you said, not just overused, but used in a wrong way because it's not a political. It doesn't have a political definition. But it has been used in that way. And a lot of people don't understand what treason really is. And they just use that word for almost anything, specifically if the right does it.
Yeah,
and
specifically especially.
For example, the whole thing with the Alito flag debacle.
Oh, good Lord.
Not just flying the flag upside down, the distress signal, but also the appeal to heaven flag. And I'm like, and there are people saying that he has committed treason. And I'm like, do you people hear yourselves? Do you actually read what you're typing before you hit send?
They do not.
Because this is not treason.
These are the people the phrase "just send it" was invented for. just saying. Just send it. Don't even care. Just send it. But no, so first of all, I talked about this a little bit last night, and Ordy actually agreed with me. I do not remember the appeal to heaven flag, which is disturbing for me as a major history buff. So I'm just like, is this one of those Mandela effect things, or is this just something that I memory hold somehow? Because I don't remember ever hearing about that flag. I remember the Betsy Ross flag. I remember, of course, the Gadsden flag, but I don't ever remember hearing anything about that particular flag. So the fact that it exists and I didn't know about it kind of tripped me out a little bit. but also their reaction to it, including San Francisco, like stealthily saying, "Oh, now that they hate this, we should probably take it down."
We better take it down. It's been flying there for months. Nobody noticed.
But
years, actually.
But back to the other part of it, like even the flying the flag upside down thing. Did anybody think that maybe she might have been doing that because she didn't like the fact that there was a riot at the Capitol, not because she supported the riot at the Capitol? I'm just thinking, it could have gone either way.
She was Alito's wife. They ascribed right wing, to her, and here's the thing. Now they're saying, well, she flew that flag upside down, but it was well after the altercation happened with the neighbors, and I'm like, it doesn't matter when she flew the flag upside down. It's her fucking flag, and she can fucking fly it any fucking way she wants. That's called freedom. You are the same people that are saying we can burn the American flag if we want to. That's freedom of expression, freedom of speech. But you're telling me she's not free to fly the flag the way she wants? How does that make any sense? And then when they're trying to subscribe white nationalism to George Washington's flag, are you serious?
I can't with these people anymore.
I'm like, you know what? You already
can't.
took one flag away. We can't even have the Confederate flag anymore.
Which
without
is stupid.
being told that that's the Union Jack, I believe, the cross with the stars and whatever. CSA flag.
No, Union Jack is actually the British flag. That's the name for it.
Okay, so I do not know. It's a CSA flag, Confederate States flag.
Yeah.
The one that was on the General Lee.
Yeah.
Does that make better sense?
the one that they airbrushed out of the movie. Yeah, that one.
Yes. And so, we no longer can, and yet that's part of our history. That happened. That did exist. And that is part of our history. Whether the left wants to admit it or not, that's part of our history. And we should not erase it. Erasing all of these bad things simply because, they're bad. Guess what? That's what Germany did.
Yeah.
That is exactly what Germany did. And look at the shit that they're dealing with right now. In an effort to be better and not, have hate, they don't teach about the bad things that happen. And now you have this whole resurgence of Nazism going on. They don't tell you about that over here. But believe me, my girlfriend's telling me shit that doesn't even make it to the newspapers over here. And it's worrisome because it's not just the white nationalists. It's also the Islamist nationalists that are actually forging with these people. And I'm like,
that happened in World War II
again.
That happened in World War II. That's one of
the. Yes, it did.
That's one of the.
It did.
But almost nobody knows that because they don't teach that anymore. That's why.
And it's happening again.
That's why when all the anti-Israel stuff started popping up at the campuses over here, I was like, we are headed towards World War II.
Well, look what happened.
World War 2.5.
Day before, I think it was day before yesterday, a Muslim, attacked a pro-Israel German parliament member out in the streets, took a knife to him, started stabbing him. The police interceded, trying to save him. He stabbed the policeman in the neck. And when he went to stab him again, another policeman drew fire and killed him right there in the street. And I'm like, you guys did this. Germany did this to itself. And now they're trying to figure out how to put that genie back in the bottle. You can't. Without the express deportation of all these people, you can't.
I was told guns were the problem. I'm confused.
Well, here's a dirty little secret about guns in Germany. There are beautiful gun stores. They're literally gun stores in Germany. You walk in, it's a paradise. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say it's beautiful. You see all of them displayed so nicely up on the walls and everything. You walk in and it's a really nice store. It's very expensive to get guns, obviously. But the guns don't belong to you. You buy them. but they belong to the state, and the state can come get it whenever it wants, which is why a lot of Germans don't actually own handguns. They have rifles for hunting, but even that's regulated even more so than a handgun, believe it or not. So, but you have all these beautiful stores. I had a friend of mine when we were stationed in Germany. He wanted to buy a Glock, and it had to be a specific one that he could have here in the States. The one he wanted, the state, you could not own here because it was law enforcement issue only. So he goes in there, he chooses one. It took him 2 years to acquire that gun because he was an American citizen and because he had to go through a background check that was like a roto-rooter of your colon. It was intensive. It was, and guess what? He could not actually go home with that gun. That gun had to be shipped to the States to a licensed dealer, and then he could go pick it up. But it took him 2 years. But he really wanted that gun. But in Germany, you don't get to own guns. You can buy them, but you don't own them. So that is one of the reasons why a lot of people instead use knives. And you don't get to hear about all of the knife attacks that happen in the bigger cities over in Germany. You don't get to hear about the bats. You don't get to hear about any of those things. As a matter of fact, I remember the honor killings that happened in Germany back in 2003, 2004 timeframe. And I had Germans telling me that never happened. And I'm like, I was literally there. I remember reading it in Das Bild. I remember reading it in those newspapers. And they kept telling me, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. And I'm like, I think what you're confusing is the fact that they were never prosecuted. But they did happen. And, after that, I stopped arguing with them online. But this is what's happening in Germany. And it's happening here too. We just don't. A lot of people are just like not aware of where it's headed because they've never had to see it. They've never dealt with it. They've never read about it. I mean, they don't read history anymore. They don't teach history anymore. Anyway, again, I took off on a tangent, but
hey, it's Friday night. It's what
sorry.
We do. It's Friday night. It's what we do. Speaking of tangents, I don't know if you've noticed this yet, but do you remember like when they first launched the Gold Check program and I was complaining it was $1,000 a month and that he needed to figure out a way to let smaller businesses get in on this? Apparently he did it, and I did never know until now. Apparently you can get a Gold Check now that has most of the same features. There's a couple things that you don't get for either $2,000 a year or $200 a month instead of $10,000 a year, $1,000 a month. So at some point, I doubt it was me he listened to, but at least somebody got his attention. Because if I can ever get Twitter making me money, I'll probably put some of that right back into the system and get a Gold Check for KLR Radio.
Wow. All right. Well, that's good to know then. I mean, that's a little better than the.
Yeah, at least it's not $1,000 a month. I mean, I wish he had like one that was scalable where you could start for like $50 a month, and then they see as you start growing, they're like, okay, if you want to keep it, now you got to give us this much, and go from there. But I mean, at least he's doing something now. Because at first I was like, I don't know very many people that just want to throw $12,000 at something and hope it works.
Yeah, I'm not one of them. Notice I still don't have a check. I'm like, I don't need editing. I'll own whatever mistakes I make, or I can just delete the damn thing and just start all over.
I mean, honestly, that was what I started doing a while ago. Before I went ahead and decided to pay for them, I would just copy the whatever I was trying to fix that had a typo in it, delete it, paste it, fix the typo, and send it again.
Yeah,
but
it's anyway, so moving on back to our originally scheduled chat.
Back to our originally scheduled butchering of the English language
topic.
So Another one that drives me crazy that's kind of in the same vein of what we've been talking about right now is how they currently use the word woke.
Thank you, Jack, you motherfucker. I blame him for this.
I'm pretty sure he's a fatherfucker too. Oh wait, did I say that?
What happened to Jack Dorsey? You don't hear from him anymore.
I have a feeling he had an appointment with Hillary Clinton and has now officially not killed himself.
You're kidding, right? I mean, he's still alive.
Yeah, no,
right?
I'm kidding.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
And
he's like, "What do you know that I don't know? Holy shit!" No, I was kidding. Although I'm surprised the Babylon Bee hasn't been arkansas yet. Did you see their story from yesterday?
No, what?
Hillary Clinton bashes Trump for paying hush money instead of having a political.
Oh,
yeah. Instead of having them killed, I was like, oh my god, the whole Babylon B team is about to be arkansas, I think.
Oh my goodness.
But that's why they get 1.1 million views, because they swing for the fences.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, you're right. The term woke that is an example of a term whose definition we knew, but was co-opted to define something else. And that was because of that dickwad.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that's been part of pop culture for a while. I mean, when we were kids, the word cool was how you said everything that was awesome. And now I think they use fire.
True. There were a lot of vernacular words that we adapted from, surfer talk, valley talk, that kind of thing, which became very popular early 80s, and it just took off.
Yeah. One of the ones that tripped me out when I first moved to the West Coast, because it hadn't made it here yet, I started, getting to know people, hanging out with people in school, because, I had no idea who anybody was. I was a new kid. I hated that feeling, by the way. And going through that 4 years in a row really sucked, but I did it. But one of the ones that threw me off big time was when we moved out to the West Coast. Instead of saying cool, everybody out there was saying rad. And I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean?
It's rad.
It's rad, man. It's totally rad. I'm like, okay. Anyway.
So for me, living down here in the valley, this valley is not the San Fernando Valley, it's the Rio Grande Valley. But when I heard tubular, I was like, what the hell does that have to do with mufflers? Because sometimes the cholos would call them tubulares. That's a muffler. And I'm like, what the hell does that have to? I don't understand. What is mufflers? What? So, my girlfriend, God rest her soul, she passed away this past December. But Valerie told me, no, Aggie, it's a new term from Valley Girl. And I'm like, I haven't seen that movie yet. And she's like, oh, we need to fix that. She actually took me to the movies to see this movie, and I fell in love with that movie and have been a fan ever since. I miss her dearly. I miss her so much. But yeah, I mean, the first time I heard it, I was like, what does this have to do with mufflers? I don't understand.
I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it.
They don't even use that term for mufflers anymore. That's how far long ago this happened. But it just cracks me up because I was completely lost. I had no idea. There were so many terms, and thank God for that movie and for the song, because without that, honestly, we would not have known. I don't think we would have known. So here's to Moon Unit. Those people, I'm hoping the chat got that, because I don't want to explain my age.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Mine says connecting currently, so we'll find out in a minute.
But yeah, I mean, that term being, and I've been, you're right, it has been around for a while, but because of Jack and the whole stay woke thing that he started, and it took off on Twitter and then on the rest of social media. And it was like, why couldn't it have been something for the good of mankind? Why this? For me, there's a term that's used here that people just do not understand. It's a Spanish term.
Dun, dun, dun.
Mano a mano. Okay. So you hear that term all the time, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
you think it's, you're shaking hands or, going, one-on-one. And no, that has absolutely nothing to do with what that term means. In Spain, in Puerto Rico, in Mexico, and Latin America, that term specifically refers to a fight between two people. You're going literally head to head with somebody. You're fighting with someone. And it may not be, verbally. In most cases, it's a physical fight. So when people here say, oh, we are, mano a mano. And I'm like, no, you don't want to do that because this is your friend. You don't say that to a friend either.
Well,
unless you caught your friend in bed with your wife, in which case then you do. So, so every time I hear it being said or I see it in writing somewhere or whatever, I'm like, another one. Nobody knows the meaning of that. And it specifically refers to two people who are in an altercation, and it's a very serious altercation, not spouting words against each other, but a serious one that could end in death. That's how serious it is when you're talking about mano a mano. So to see it over here being used in such a daisical manner, I guess, very blasé, very, just, two guys, one-on-one. And I'm like, yeah, but the one-on-one is because you were literally about to fight to the death. So you don't want to use that term.
I guess for me, and it's probably because the languages are fairly closely related, I remember kind of picking up the very similar Italian version of that phrase, and that's kind of how I knew it was, oh, that's not good. But yeah, I was like, yeah, that's not something that's not something you just throw around, because that literally means I'm gonna kick your ass. Pretty much, anyway. But I don't know.
Yeah, there's a, I do have one that drives me crazy too. I see it every so often on Twitter, but I keep my mouth shut about it because the sentiment comes through in what they're saying, but they're using the wrong word.
Which one is that?
They're saying bemused instead of amused. And this is as a result of the term bespoke.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're putting be in front of it to accentuate being amused. They think bemused is more amused. No, that's not what it is. So you see somebody saying, "Oh, I was so bemused. He was so funny," and I'm like, "You were amused, very amused, but you were not bemused." And I've seen a couple of people using it. And as a matter of fact, I saw somebody who has a degree in English using it, and I'm like, boy, okay, that's bad.
Yeah, I got nothing.
But that person got called out by another person who has a degree in English, so I didn't have to call it out. Thank God. But they got called out.
Yeah, so just in case, and again, not talking down to anybody, but in case you didn't know, what that word actually means is puzzled, confused, or bewildered, which is why it makes absolutely no sense in that context.
No, it doesn't. It's like, you're confused. And so, and like I said, I blame the whole bespoke thing because a lot of people think that putting be in front of it makes it more so. And I'm like, No, that's not the way it works.
That's not how that
That's,
works. I'm glad.
you know,
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to step on you.
no, I don't know. I admittedly English is my second language, but I try so hard to make sure I'm using it correctly because it has so many exceptions to every fucking rule. So, you know, so I do go out of my way to make sure that I'm using it correctly because it took me a while. I mean, it took me a while to learn English. To be fair, my dad told me if you don't learn it in a year, you're going back to Puerto Rico and live with your grandmother. And believe me, that will incentivize anybody
Like
to learn it quick.
I'm not gonna go live with no.
I was fluent in 9 months.
Like screw this.
But you know, it was a challenge. You had this new language, and there were new words, and the words didn't come from Romance languages. You know, it wasn't that difficult for me to learn French because it was a Romance language. You know, and as a matter of fact, when I was living in Germany, my German girlfriend and I would go shopping on the economy all the time and everything, and you know, she helped me with my German, and German was very difficult for me because it was not a Romance language. But I met friends in the same area that were from Slovakia, and their language was a Romance language. And so, you know, because they were from Romania as well, so they knew Romanian, they knew Slovak languages, they knew all of those languages and everything. So when they spoke Romanian, I could understand like 50% of what they were saying. I could actually figure out what they were saying. And so I was translating for my German friend for them. So when I came here, English is not a Romance language. And so I took it upon myself. It was a challenge for me to learn English as I grew accustomed to the language. And as I learned more and more, there were more rules, there were more exceptions. And I was like, this language is like pilfering languages from all over the world and just accruing. And that's the beauty of English. It accrues other languages and adapts them to themselves. So that's why I think when words are not used correctly, it really drives me up the wall. But to be fair, it happens in Spanish too. When they do the same thing in Spanish, it sets my teeth on edge. More so because they should know better, because they are native speakers, you know. So anyway.
No, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I was distracted looking for my next one because I lost my list.
No, we did treason though.
Yeah, well, we definitely had to get that one in there. So I did the 2 hot buttons for the day. There was another one that I had at least that now I can't remember which one it was though. Hang on.
Oh gosh, there's so many though.
Oh, I know. Well, the thing is, I'm going through the list because I have like this entire list, and I was like, I'm not really gonna have time to go through this whole thing. So I was trying to find more like the ones that. So this is actually something that I didn't know until we started going into words that are misused. I didn't realize that if you take the apostrophe out of the word can't, there actually is a word can't without an apostrophe.
Oh, yeah. Can't is a word. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you have CAN apostrophe T, which is a contraction for the word can't, or can't become, which is a contraction for cannot. Then there's can't, CANT, which actually has a number of different meanings, including a slope or slant, a kind of slang or jargon spoken by a particular group of people. Canting arms is a coat of arms, and that represents. So I wasn't aware of that. When I started researching, one of the first things I did after I thought of my couple is I started looking for very commonly misused words in the English language. I was like, I didn't even know that was a word. I guess I should have, because they're derivatives of the word, but.
I think it's either Words with Friends or Wordscapes or one of those word games for the phones and everything. That CANT, that is a word that they take, and it drove. I think it was one of my friends was playing it, and it drove him crazy because like, no, it needs an apostrophe. It needs an apostrophe. And I had to tell him that's an actual word.
Like, no,
He
that's
was
actually
like,
a word, my dude.
no. But it's funny because something, haint is an actual word, HAINT, which is a derivative of a word from the Gullah people off the coast of South Carolina that, means like ghost. And so, but it's not recognized by a lot of dictionaries. A lot of dictionaries do, but some dictionaries don't. And it's very confusing for me when some recognize a word,
Yeah.
and it's a word, but others that are also dictionaries do not recognize it as a word. And it's like people, get together. You're all dictionaries. You should like have a consensus already on words. Apparently they do not.
Now I want to do a paranormal podcast and call it "Ain't Nobody Got Time for That."
That would be fun. That'd be hilarious.
Oh, I mean, we already kind of do that with juxtaposition, though, so I don't know if I just want to split off and do some. Maybe I'll start working that in when we do the paranormal episodes. Make it the title every once in a while when we do the paranormal. Ain't nobody got time for that. Round 2. Only the nerds would laugh, but it would still be great.
Ain't nobody got time for that. I don't know. I think we should think about it. We could, like our, once a month podcast for ghost stories or something.
Oh, we could do that as kind of the Halloween thing once in a while when we get back around to ghost stories. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Do you think that you and Orty will get around to doing the last witch the part on witch?
Maybe, I don't know that one.
this Halloween.
Yeah, that one. That was worse than when we tried to do the whole month of demons. There were bad things happening everywhere for both of us, and I'm just like, I think we're being hexed, my bro. But anyway, so my plan is yes, maybe, but I don't want to say anything because we might get hexed again.
Okay, yeah, I will just keep quiet about that because I listened to the others and I'm like, this is definitely a cliffhanger. Like, we need the last one. I feel like Toy Story, the movie that we're talking about, it ended in a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And then Sputnik came out, and also everybody wanted space age toys. And the Woody Show got canceled. That's what it is. It's a cliffhanger. So anyway, well, that was pretty much my list for words that get on my fucking nerves.
Are you talking to me? Oh wait, no, sorry.
Oh, don't get me started on that guy. Oh my God. I don't even want to think about Robert De Niro tonight.
Are you talking to me?
That was a debacle of ginormous proportions.
Dude.
There's another one, ginormous.
Oh yeah, that's actually not even really a word though, is it? I think it's become one. I think it's become one. I think it's in like the Urban Dictionary and stuff now.
Yeah, just like fantabulous. I use that one all the time. And I admit it. I admit to using words that I put together. I'm like, there's a certain fun in doing that. It's the Frankenstein of word usage.
Yeah,
that's what I call it.
Well, that's like Nash Bridges, which was basically Sonny Crockett on the West Coast. He used to say "presactly" all the time, and I stole that.
And of course, we have Exactamundo from Happy Days. That was a popular one.
Yeah, that was. I still I found it funny when I finally realized where the phrase "jump the shark" actually came from, because it was actually from that show.
Yes, yes. I remember watching that episode going, what in the world is happening? Why is he doing this? Why is this even on the show? And sure enough, yeah, that was where the term jump the shark comes from. That particular episode of Happy Days, where Fonzie, wearing his leather jacket, decides to water ski and jump over sharks.
Yeah, that just kind of proves when they've run out of things to write about, it's probably time to go away. But I will say, one of my pet peeves lately, especially with all the streaming services, is that they've gotten down to these like 10 episode seasons, and then you get maybe 3, 4, 5 seasons if you're lucky. The one thing I will say about that is Discovery just ended. For those of you that have Paramount Plus, if you haven't watched it yet, you probably should. It ended much better than Enterprise, which was the most recent comparison. But I got to thinking about it, because if they had the same type of limitations scheduling wise as far as number of episodes, etc., that they have today, I don't think Star Trek The Next Generation would have lasted past the second season, because it took them 2 whole seasons to start finding their feet and get comfortable in their characters, because Patrick Stewart was nearly more robotic than Data for the first 2 seasons. And
yeah, he was.
And they had 26 episodes per season. And I'm just like, how much really good TV are we being robbed of because these people are trying to figure out ways to cut costs and everything else, and only giving us not even a half a season anymore? Because
look what, I mean, everybody was like, oh, Sherlock is on his 3rd season. And I'm like, 3rd? It turns out there was only 3 episodes per season for Sherlock. And I'm like, seriously?
Well,
that makes no sense to me.
Well, that's like the other thing, because a lot of people may not know this, but because everybody was pissed off with episodes 7, 8, and 9 of the Star Wars trilogy, pretty much everybody. But a lot of people don't know that if you really want decent Star Wars at this point, it's really best to go back and watch the cartoon stuff that came out shortly before all that stuff. So they've got the Clone Wars, they've got one called Bad Batch, there's one called the Rebels, and they're all kind of sort of tied together, so it makes it kind of interesting. And I really got into the Bad Batch, which was about a group of clones that were considered rejects that wound up, fighting for the good guys instead. And so I really got into it. And then I got excited because they were like, oh, it's our 4th and final season. And they gave them less than half a season to wrap up the story. And I'm like, every other one of these had at least 16 episodes. You gave them 8 for their final season. I hate that.
I don't understand that. I mean, I remember watching, Barney Miller. Their entire last season there was a background story to where it was going to wrap up. There was something always in the background. The whole finding of the rifle in the basement, and and then determining that particular building was an historical landmark, and it just that progressed episode by episode, and it was the whole season, that kind of thing, and that was well done. They stopped doing a good last season. Well, I want to say sometime in the early 90s. I have not seen a good season ender for anything except maybe Newhart.
Well, I mean, part of it's because I think it's because at one point TV was an offshoot of going to the movie theaters back when America had its golden age and everybody was, going to the movie theaters to watch their stuff and this, that, and the other. So for the longest time, it was kind of a revered thing. So if a show lasted past a few seasons and they finally decided they were done with it, they wanted to give it a proper send-off. And you're right. Back then, it was like they would know in advance when their last season was coming up for the most part, unless they were just flat out canceled because nobody was watching them anymore. And they would build up for like that entire season. It wasn't just a series finale episode. It was like an entire season of this is what's coming, and we're gonna tie everything back together, give you guys all the Easter eggs you've missed, all those things. And I miss that but I mean, I can't even say that it was still not common even back then, because Star Trek was killed off after 3 seasons. They finished the other 2 in the animated series to give it the full 5-year run, because they were able to do it on a much lower budget. But it's like I noticed this time, because this was technically Discovery's 5th season. This is probably, for me, about the time that show really found its feet. They left a lot of the woke crap behind in season 5. They focused more on the story, and they were literally 50 episodes in by the end of it. And I got to thinking about it. I was like, that is right about the time that Next Generation found its feet, because it was 3 or 4 episodes in, almost 5 episodes into season 3 because I was almost ready to give up on it. I'm not even going to lie. But the only thing that kept me engaged back then, because of my age, was Wesley, because it was so cool watching somebody that was my age getting to do the shit that I wished I could do. Now I can't stand him, but he's the reason I kept watching. Go figure. But it's just, I got to thinking about it. I was like, it takes so long for these people to find their characters and get into them, and half the time we don't even have the patience to give them the time to do that anymore. We just expect perfection from the beginning. And
unfortunately,
I think we've lost something somewhere.
Yeah, because we became a society where instant gratification is something that you get almost every day in everything. So it extended to your entertainment. It extended to your sports. It extended to, seriously, now, I have friends that are like, oh, I just don't feel like anything, so I'm just going to hit DoorDash. And I'm like, you can do that? And when I was complaining online about the weather back home and how it was raining and everything. It's like, well, why don't you just have something delivered? I'm like, I don't think you understand how remote I am. There are no delivery services where I live.
Yeah.
The nearest delivery service is literally an hour away, and they don't deliver here. So DoorDash is nothing. I can't do that. You have your McDonald's app and Sonic app and Burger King app and all that stuff, and you just hit that, and then you just walk in and pick it up. That's instant gratification. That is, so people having that level of Amazon next day delivery, or even same day delivery, that kind of thing. People have gotten used to that. And so that has extended outward into the entertainment industry, the sports industry, the tech industry. I know people, my niece was freaking out on her phone because it took, she hit one of her apps and it was like, oh, it's still loading. I'm like, you literally just hit your app. And she was upset because it wasn't quick. It wasn't instant. And I'm like, that's right. She wasn't around for dial-up. She wasn't around for any of that stuff. And I think that's where we are now with entertainment, where it's instant delivery of resolving the issue as quick as possible.
Well, I think that may be part of it too, because I mean, even for us, remember that there was like ritual involved in getting to watch things. You either had, if you had cable, which for a time I didn't when I was a kid, but we did eventually get it. But if you had cable, you had to wait for whatever movies you really, really wanted to watch to come around on whatever premium service you were lucky enough that your parents decided to pay for. And if your parents were anything like mine, they'd get one for like 3 months and then they'd get rid of it and then get the other one for 3 months and then get rid of it. So half the time I was like, I didn't know what was on. And then we got VCRs, and that changed things up a little bit, but there was still work involved. So you had to go get the movie that you wanted to get. You had to pray it was there. You had to pick it out. So by the time you put all the work into it, you were going to watch it whether it sucked or not. Now that they can just flick a switch, if they're not hooked in 5 minutes, they move on to something else.
Now I remember when HBO didn't start until 5 p.m. And it was all day long. It was a scroll of what was going to be playing after 5. And it was a blue screen and the scroll, the whole thing would scroll, and sometimes it would be playing Appalachian Spring. Sometimes it would be playing something else, usually classical music while the scroll was going. It was all day long until 5 p.m. And that's when HBO would start televising the films for that evening. And it wasn't all night either. It was from 5 p.m. That's Central. I'm sure it was later at, Eastern. But it was from 5 p.m. until 11 at night. So it was just 6 hours. It was just 3 movies. There was not, and the movie would end, the scroll would come back until the next movie was starting. There was no in between. There was, nothing would start at 8:15. Nothing would start at 8:20 or whatever. That's the way it was. And I remember, and we looked forward to this because it was like, we're in a movie theater. It was like having a movie theater at home.
Yeah.
But now, how many premium channels are there? And now with all the streaming services, and now some movies don't even make it to the theaters before they're hitting the streaming service. So yeah, it's that whole instant gratification thing. And then some people blame it on the pandemic, but I'm like, no, this started before the pandemic. This was going on before the pandemic. The pandemic, helped it a lot, but this was starting before the pandemic, in my opinion. But anyway, we are at the top of the hour.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually a couple minutes over, but I was like,
yeah.
But anyway, so where can folks find you since my list is longer?
Well, you can find me at Aggie Rican and Aggie the Barkeep. Those are over on X. You can find me 8:30 p.m. Eastern Tuesday nights doing the Cocktail Lounge. Ever Suave Brad Slager. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Friday nights doing He Said, She Said with you once a month. And I'm sorry that I missed it for this month. I was cooking at somebody else's house. We do Toxic Masculinity at 8 p.m. Eastern, the last Wednesday of every month, where the guys, Rick, Orty, G, and Andrew get together. They host the Babe of the Month, and I bring the drinks for everybody. And Jeff and I are now doing a book podcast. Our next installment will be June 10th. That's the second Monday in June. And that's also Aggie time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. But after June, it'll come back to the first Monday of every month. So thanks for joining us. And Rick, where can we find you?
Well, I'm off tomorrow, so going to be doing some technical work on a few things, trying to get a couple of the things ironed out. Sunday night, back doing America Off the Rails, 10 p.m. Eastern. Monday through Friday now, Rick Robinson Show, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, except for starting in August. I guess it would be July. I'm going to be taking the first Monday of the month off. I may or may not take the second Monday off this month because I wasn't sure when you guys were starting the whole first Monday thing. And then when I'm not doing that, Tuesday night, usually producing for you. Wednesday night, doing whatever with Stacy, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, then usually produce for the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show. Then we will be alternating in the 9 p.m. slot Eastern Time with both Talk Murder to Me, our newest offering here on KLRN Radio, and the return of Fubar, One Nation Under Fu, also with our Amish friend Ordnance J. Packard. And they are actually airing this coming Wednesday, I believe, if I've done my math correctly. And then Thursday, and then after that, Orty and I do the Rick and Orty Show, 10 p.m. Eastern. Went Thursday night, Jen and Rick, 10 p.m. Eastern. Friday night, back around with you. Saturday night should be a juxtaposition night next week because I'm just giving up and going back to regular schedule, and we'll see if we can actually get back to doing it. We are changing time, though, so we're going to start doing the show starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, running to midnight Eastern. We're going to start doing 2 hours. For Jux.
For which one, Jux?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I'm not doing all that, you can find me as a contributor at theloftusparty.com, misfitspolitics.com, and twitchy.com. And I'm also the executive producer of the Loftus Party podcast, which usually drops on Tuesdays. And if you need more of me than that, and let's face it, if you do, you probably need therapy. You can always follow along with me at RowdyRick73 on most social media platforms. But that's pretty much everywhere you can find me. But don't look for me. It's a trap. Just saying. All right. We should probably go away now. It took like 5 minutes for us to tell everybody where to find us. That's bad.
That's funny. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Smoke them if you got them, and it's Friday night, so you better be drinking.